Being scared of your feelings is like being scared of something that is just continuously there, because you have a body. You are human, and so you will have feelings. When you are scared of those feelings, it can cause so much resistance, and therefore it can be so exhausting to not want to feel certain things, and be scared of feeling those things. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can live in a body where you are just completely comfortable with whatever feeling comes up, whether they are positive or negative, or the ones you would call negative now. Any feeling is just fine. And I know when I healed this, it just gave me so much freedom to enjoy being in the moment, to enjoy my life, really, because before that it felt like almost like a minefield where I would just think, when is the next feeling going to be? And I don't think that was a conscious thought, but I was just so scared of my feelings and my thoughts that it felt like this impending sense of doom, that in any moment I could feel something, and that would cause so much pain, suffering, problems. So let's dive into why you are so scared of those feelings. And the first one is, when you were a child, you probably weren't really allowed to feel, which came out in that when you had big feelings, as all children do, you were probably rejected in a way. They had consequences. So it could be rejection. It could be that a parent would lash out. It could be that a parent would retreat and just wouldn't be able to handle your big emotions. And a lot of times this comes from your parent not being able to emotionally regulate themselves. And so they have a hard time just handling your emotions, and it has nothing to do with you as a person, just with the fact that your parents didn't handle, or your parents didn't know how to handle those big emotions. And every single child has this, especially ages 2 and 3, the tantrum ages, 4 and 5 still also. Those are some big emotions. And if you had a parent that had learned when they were younger that emotions weren't allowed and that you should just, be quiet and behave, then that's a lot to handle. That's a lot to really hold space, center yourself, regulate yourself. And so your parents, probably not being as self-conscious as our generation is, had a really hard time just kind of calming down, slowing down, seeing what the situation needed, and they just acted and reacted out of fear, out of pain. And that can be anger, that can be just closing off, that can be rejecting you, humiliating you, just not taking it seriously. There's so many reactive ways to go about that come from fear and that come from pain, but that can make you feel as a small child that you are wrong for having these feelings, that it is your fault, that you have something to do with it. And that's not true. Every single child has these big emotions, and they are completely fine. So it wasn't you, it was just the fact that your parent or caregiver had a hard time dealing with those emotions, because they have a hard time dealing with those emotions themselves. Another reason why you are so scared of these feelings is that your feelings didn't really matter, maybe as a child. You almost had to kind of like perform in a way, always had to be happy, or always had to be feeling good, feeling strong. Performance can look different in different families, but there probably was one way to be, one emotion, one state of being that was accepted in your family, that was actually promoted, I want to say, but complimented, and you felt like you got approval when you felt that way. And so there really was no use in you listening to your emotions if there was no room for those emotions, and there was actually just one emotion, or maybe one or two, that were completely accepted and celebrated. So then what happens is, you demand of yourself that you feel happy, that you feel good, that you feel strong, even though your body needs things to be able to feel happy, to feel good, to feel strong. But you haven't learned and maybe aren't willing to listen to your feelings and ask your body, okay, what do I need? What does my body need right now? What you do then is just judge whatever feeling comes up, try to repress it, and try to demand that your body just functions in the way you feel it needs to function to be accepted by the world. So what this looked like for me was that um, I I just I needed to always have energy, even though my body was so tired a lot of the time. And that had a lot to do with me suppressing so much. Because when you suppress, you have a lot of resistance, and resistance always takes a lot of energy. So it's exhausting. And as you release that and as you heal that and you stop resisting so much, you will get more energy too. So I was trying to just demand of my body that it worked. And whenever I felt myself getting tired, I would start feeling super anxious and fearful, and I would try to find something unconsciously, subconsciously. I would try to find something else to focus my attention on, to try to control, to make sure my life was perfect. And for a long time, that was my relationship. So I never saw this link. I never saw this association. But when I started feeling tired, which was a huge trigger because I wasn't allowed to be tired, I was just allowed to be happy and energetic and strong. I would feel so vulnerable and was so afraid of rejection. And so I would push my now husband and boyfriend away, and I would try to find fault in him because I was just, a part of me was just so sure that I would be rejected by him if he would notice that I was tired. And all of this wasn't that I made these conscious choices to think this or to feel this. But yeah, it was definitely a learning curve, and so freeing to be able to say, wait, all my feelings are allowed to be there. I mean, they are there anyway. Whether you try to suppress them or not, they are there. Just suppressing them, it takes so much more energy and causes so much more pain. So when I learned how to listen to them, and when I healed all the negative associations I had around having negative feelings, it was so much easier to just say, okay, what does my body need? And I could just allow all the feelings to be there, give my body what it needs, and then always your body will go back to equilibrium. It will go back to a centered state of love and peace, because that is your natural state, even though it might not feel that way because you feel anxious so often. Your natural state is love and peace. And so when you give your body what it needs, when you listen to your own feelings and listen to your own needs and fulfill those, your body will go back to that centered state, that equilibrium. So that was the second reason. The third reason is you weren't allowed to hurt others. And this is definitely true for when you've learned or kind of picked up that your feelings could hurt others. So this means that, for instance, your father could have said, now you're making mom cry, look at what you did. Or your mom said, don't do that because you'll make your dad angry. And then you have that feeling that feelings are, how am I gonna say this, are your fault. Other people's feelings are your fault. But also, it could be that those things were said in times that you had big emotions, that you had big feelings, like, oh, please calm down because otherwise you'll make dad angry. Or please don't be angry, or you can't be angry because you're making mom cry. So it was probably also in at times where you had big emotions that your parents or caregivers kind of like not wanted to have those, and blamed you and your feelings for how one of your parents felt. And so you got the idea that your feelings hurt other people. Your feelings made mom cry. Your feelings made dad angry, and that's not a good thing. So that, obviously, the logical conclusion that you drew out of that is I have to suppress my feelings. My feelings are just not safe to have. And therefore I have to suppress them because that's way safer, and then other people are safe. It's so interesting to me because I think a lot of fearful avoidants feel like they are bad people. That is one of the core wounds, or at least that they always mess up. And yet so many fearful avoidants have so many defense mechanisms that are actually there to protect others. So you are actually quite empathetic. It's just that your fear and your tendency to want to control things make it hard to really allow that to be there, because you just believe that you only hurt others, or that you're a bad person, or that you're a danger to others. And it's so sad to me that so many fearful avoidants believe that, while they're actually being so empathetic in making their own life quite difficult, and suppressing so much, and putting so much energy in almost protecting others from themselves. Oh, I so wish for you that you can just release that and know that you, as the beautiful being that you are not just safe for others, but you are so valuable in this world. We are so lucky and happy to have you. The fourth and the last reason is that you are actually not afraid of your feelings. You are afraid of the stories you attach to those feelings. So for the three reasons I already mentioned, it is not the fact that you're being sad and crying feels scary. It's the story that will hurt others. So when you cry, your mom might cry too. Or when you cry, somebody else gets upset. That's the story that's attached to that. Or when I have big emotions, I get rejected, or somebody gets angry. Those are stories that you create around that. And what a lot of fearful avoidants have is that they are very afraid to make mistakes. And so they are, when you are in a relationship, it could be that you demand of yourself to feel a certain way. So you have to be super in love. You have to want to be with your partner all the time. And you won't really allow any feelings that seem like they are not those feelings, if you still follow what I'm saying. So, for instance, you feel overwhelmed and you just want some time for yourself. It might be that you go straight into panic mode because you feel, I'm not supposed to feel this. I'm not allowed to feel this because this would mean that I don't really love my partner. And that would mean that I would have to break up. And that would mean I would hurt them. And I'm not allowed to hurt others. I'm not allowed to make mistakes. You see how this story kind of like spirals almost. While what was actually just happening is your body was mentioning, hey, wait, I'm overwhelmed. Can we just take some time, please? But you have so many stories around this based on your previous and childhood experience that you are not allowing yourself to feel anything that could potentially hurt others, that could potentially mean that you were making mistakes. And so you are demanding of yourself to only feel certain things, to only feel in love, to only feel happy, positive feelings towards your partner. And that is just not realistic and not necessary at all. All happy couples have ups and downs, have positive and negative feelings. It's so normal. And the interesting thing is that the more you allow all the feelings to be there and not attach stories to them, the more you will allow all the good feelings too. Because what now happens when you are very scared of certain feelings is that whenever you do have good feelings, you think, and I'm not allowed to mess this up. I really can't mess this up. When you feel you love somebody. So you have a moment where you feel love for your partner, and you almost immediately rein it back in because you think, I'm not allowed to mess it up. I'm not allowed to make mistakes. And the more you love somebody, the more you feel like that will hurt you, that will hurt them. So it's just a spiral that you go into. And the more you just allow all of your feelings, the more you will notice that there is so much more room to just allow the good feelings to be there also, instead of what also happens a lot, wanting to hold on to them. You feel love and then you're like, I need to hold on to this. I need to always feel this way, which is not realistic. We are all human. We all have messy emotions, and that's completely fine. That's just part of the human experience. And with all that, we get to be super happy in our lives and in our relationships. So being scared of your feelings makes sense. It makes sense if you've had a certain upbringing and if you have the fearful avoidant attachment style. But it is not necessary, and it is definitely something you can heal. And I just wish for you that you get to experience living the rest of your life in a body that just feels at peace. And that means that all feelings are allowed to be there, because the more you just completely allow them to be there, the easier they come and go. When you have no resistance whatsoever, when you never suppress a feeling, I don't think any human on planet Earth has this, can do this, but theoretically, if you would never suppress anything, if you would never have any resistance, any feeling can only be in your body for 90 seconds. 90. So that's a minute and a half. And any feeling is okay for a minute and a half. But when you suppress it, you tend to hold on to it, which is also just very interesting, isn't it? So a body that is at peace allows all feelings and is not scared of any of its feelings. And I'm so, I guess, so passionate about this because you are the only one that's gonna live with you for the rest of your life, 100% guaranteed. So you live in this body and in this mind that can either be your worst enemy or it can be just a wonderful, wonderful place to be. And I've experienced both. For years and years, I've lived in a body and a mind that was just one big minefield. It felt like I was in a war zone, just daily, continuously fighting all these thoughts, fighting all these feelings. And if I compare that to now, where I just am so at peace and 90% of the time I'm just relaxed and I live in a state of trust, and I feel that love and peace so often because that is your natural state. It truly is a world of difference, and I'm just so grateful that I get to experience this for the rest of my life, and I wish that so much for you too. And it is possible. I always want you to know that it is possible to heal the fearful avoidant attachment style. I'm always looking for ways to help you heal the fearful avoidant attachment style, as you know. And I have made healing cards. They have been some time in the making. I haven't talked about them yet, but if you go to the link in the description, you can sign up and get them. And then you can put them as the background of your phone or your laptop. You can print them out, you can hang them up anywhere. And these are all affirmations that kind of reveal what it feels like to be healed, and can really help you make that experience real. And I so wish that for you. So let me know in the comments below if this was valuable to you, if these were new things, what your experience is with your feelings. Let's share together. And as always, I am so incredibly happy you are here. I will see you in the next one.